Hi everybody, I'm Clare Copping. I'm going to be running you through this morning's webinar. I'm just going to wait for a minute or so just while everybody just logs on, because I can see the kind of participants numbers coming up, so I'll just give it a few minutes or a minute or so. Hope you've all had a lovely weekend. I don't know where the sun's gone, but hopefully it'll come back. Maybe it's sun shining where you are. Let me just move that out the way. Okay, I'll just give it a couple more minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to answer all the questions at the end, if that's okay with all of you. And obviously we're relying a little bit on technology, so if anything happens with the technology and it kind of stops, because sometimes the internet has funny moments. Let me turn my Wi-Fi off so my Zoom's okay. Then just log back in again and it will be fine. And also just to let you all know that it's all being recorded, so you'll be able to catch up with it on Forever Knowledge once it gets loaded up. So I'll just give it another few seconds or so, and then I can get started. So, okay. I'll just give it a little bit of a time, a few minutes. It's really strange, isn't it? Because you're kind of talking to a computer, and I can't see any of you. Obviously, hopefully you can see and hear me, and hopefully everything will be okay. Okay, I think I'm going to get started now. Okay, so I'm Clare Copping and welcome. And I've been in Forever, gosh, nearly 15 years now, and I'm going to be helping you to kind of craft, if you like, create your personal story. But first of all, I want to tell you a story. So I had a 23-year career at the BBC. I loved my job. I thought I was in a job for life. I started as a 17-year-old secretary and worked my way up into middle management. And nearly 15 years ago now, I found myself facing redundancy. And I had no idea what I was going to do, because all the options were either going to cost me a fortune to start a business or buy a franchise, take me years to retrain, weren't going to be flexible to fit around our family. Our son was 7 back then, and weren't going to earn me enough money. Plus, my husband Paul had been off sick for 7 months with a kind of like a chronic fatigue type of thing. So life was really, really upside down. And I just thought, I don't know what I'm going to do. I was coming up for 40, and I was completely dumbfounded. I really was actually feeling quite scared. Thankfully, a friend introduced me, or actually invited me along to her launch. And I went along to her launch, and I just loved the sound of the products. I thought I thought they might help my husband, which they did. And I remember saying, I'm joining just for the 35% discount. I'm never doing the business. I'm never standing up in front of anybody. I'm never selling anything. I'm never building a team. Why? Because I didn't have the confidence. But within 2 weeks, I was at a Christmas success day, and I was listening to all the testimonials. And I started the day with my arms crossed, and then I kind of started clapping, and by the end of the day I was crying. To be honest, I don't actually remember the detail of any of the trainings or the detail of the testimonials, but I just remember the belief those stories gave me. Especially the last testimonial of the day, which was a lady called Dorothy. It was actually Jane Leach's mum. And her energy, her shoes, her dancing, her kind of personality, and the huge achievement. She was on stage with her lovely husband Bill for Sapphire Manager. She was in her 60s, and I absolutely loved her, and she gave me belief without even knowing. I was inspired by her personality alone, even though we've got very, very different backgrounds. And I went home so excited. A few months later, I went to a training that she ran, a little bit like the First Steps to Supervisor trainings that we see online at the moment. And 2 weeks later, I was a supervisor. But it took me 20 months to get to manager, so I've not been the fastest. I retailed my way to supervisor. It took me a year to get to assistant manager and 20 months to get to manager. Why did it take me so long? Well, I struggled with making calls, I struggled with rejection, and I struggled with this. I struggled with my mindset and confidence. And I didn't follow the cycle. And to be honest, when I started following the cycle that we're all coached, that's when everything changed. All the way through my journey, I've gone to BPs, I've gone to trainings, I've gone to success days, and all of these I listen. Even now I listen to everybody else's stories and their top tips, and I used to cling on to their stories, and I used to gather what I call light bulb moments from their stories. Your story is so powerful to other people. So it actually took me 7 years to get to senior manager, 8 years to get to soaring manager, and along the way I've also qualified for Car Plan, 100 Club, Global Rally, Chairman's Bonus, and much, much more. It's not been easy, but it's been my journey, and I'm still learning and growing even nearly 15 years later. But I absolutely blooming love this company and everything that it stands for, especially the absolutely incredible products and the wonderful people. So I've just shared a story with you. It's probably, I don't know, about 4 minutes, but it's not appropriate to use that story in every situation. So I've shared so much now because it's part of what we do when we do a training. And I wanted to share with all of you, whether you're a brand new FBO or whether you're somebody who's stuck or struggling, that everyone has got a different journey. And they're not in a straight line, more like a plate of spaghetti, I think, as Diana Page calls it. But stories are what makes the world go round. We paint pictures, don't we, with our stories? Just like, you know, the Christmas adverts on the television, which I always love, because they're telling a story, and that you will have an emotional connection with it, and you'll like the one that you like the story the best. So why do you need to have a powerful story? You need to be able to have a powerful story so that you can share it with other people, because what's happening is they need to be thinking, oh, that's just like me. I feel like that, so maybe I can do it too. You're looking for the me toos. And also what you're doing is you're trying to paint a picture in people's minds so that they can imagine their journey. You know, a few years ago we were looking at universities for our son. We looked at 7 actually in all, and in each case it wasn't the facts and the figures that the universities were spouting out that we got excited about, but the individual students and the lecturers who shared their journeys and their stories with passion, and they are the ones that brought the university to life. So I hope you can see how important your story is. You're also going to use it over and over for different reasons at different times in your business journey, and I'm going to go into that in a bit more in a minute. But also to inspire others, because help them believe that they too can do it, because I didn't believe I could do it, but listening to other stories was absolutely vital for me. It's something that Andy Waring calls social proofing. People have to get kind of proof and identity that they're similar. And you're also going to use your story when you're making your calls, help you make an effective call, and also to start the whole business building process, which is obviously why we're all here. You know, we hear people buy people. People buy your stories before they buy stuff. So they don't care about all the ingredients, they want to know about the stories and what the product, if you like, has done for you and what the business has done for you. Before people buy from you, they have to buy into you, because people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And if people like you, they'll listen to you, but if they trust you, then they'll do business with you. However, you don't have time to share a 5 to 10 minute story of your life with people that you want to invite to have a look at forever, because they actually don't care about you. They actually care about them and how this could help them. They need to be able to see themselves being able to do it because you've painted a good picture. So you need to become a good storyteller, but it also needs to be a factually correct storyteller. So it's really important to learn how to have a powerful, brief story. So how are you going to do that? Let me click on the right button. You need to have structure. So you need 4 things. So you need to have your background to your story. You need to have what your challenge was, the reason you looked at forever, the solution, and how you feel about the future. And I'm going to go into all of this in a bit more detail. Now 1, 2 and 3, the first 3 will never change because that's the past. And I think it's really important to be wary about not expanding the last bit, especially when you've become more successful, because remember, it's not about you, it's about them, and they need to identify with you and what you're saying. So beware what we call the, well, not we, but the me monster. It's actually the wonderful Dr. Tom Barrett talks about it. A fantastic book is Dare to Dream and Work to Win. Really, really recommend that book. It's absolutely brilliant. So this is a page from the First Steps to Manager. And this is a really good example to help you when you're preparing to, for instance, for making a call. So let's just say the first one is background. So it could be somebody that says, I run my own childcare business, which is very successful and the income is good. So very, very short and succinct. So anybody that's in childcare, or even anybody that's worked in a school, maybe not even their own business, but that's going to appeal to lots of different people in the childcare industry, people that run their own business, which is successful and the income is good. But the challenge, however, the hours are very long and it's very stressful with so much paperwork and red tape. I was definitely looking for a better way. Now, again, that's going to appeal to not only people who've got their own childcare business, but anyone who's got their own business, which is stressful with long hours and lots of paperwork and red tape. So the solution, through a friend, I came across a dynamic global brand which offers not only much greater potential, but also time flexibility and the option to travel with them. So this bit's are important that you use, excuse me, that you use your words and phraseology, and I'm going to give you some examples in a minute. So the solution is, obviously, it's got the potential, flexibility, and the option to travel. So again, that's going to appeal to lots of different people. And how you feel about the future? I'm so excited about what I found that for the first time in many years, I feel my future is secure and I can finally achieve all I want in my life. So again, that's going to appeal to so many different people. So I'm going to go through the how now. So how are you actually going to do this? The first thing that you're going to need to do is write it all out. You need to write it all out on a piece of paper. I was very resistant to this, but actually it's really important that you write it all down. Longhand, just scribble it all out, write it all out, warts and all, everything. And then you'll need to cut out the irrelevant information, because this is your story for other people to take some inspiration from. So your children's names, their ages, that really doesn't matter, because you want as many people to think that's like me. So I kind of say cut out all the wishy-washy stuff. Excuse me, the name of your husband, all that kind of stuff doesn't really matter. I need some water, hang on. Okay, then you need to time it, because your fundamental basic story needs to be around about 60 to 90 seconds. So you need to, you can make it longer, obviously, as certain situations are appropriate, and I'll demonstrate that later. But the fundamental story needs to be around about 60 to 90 seconds. And then you need to practice it over and over again. When you're in the car, when you're in the shower, anywhere. I used to practice it on my husband and Paul, and he used to say, it doesn't sound like you, Claire, so he helped me kind of to tweak it. And even now, I even practiced it this morning because I'm going to do my 60 to 90 second one in a minute. I still practice it to keep it fresh, to make sure it's not going too long. Because what you're also looking for, as I said before, is looking for people to think, yeah, like me, that's me too. You're trying to think about putting as many me toos in there as you can. Because the point of a good story is not to stroke your ego, but to help the recipient think, that's like me, I can do this. Because most people, when they start with forever, don't think they can do it. Most people don't. So what you're doing is helping them to think, yeah, actually, that's like me. And also you need to smile, because you can hear when I'm smiling, even if you couldn't. I mean, I know the webcam's on, but if you couldn't, if you're over the phone, you could hear when someone's smiling. You know, words are only 7% of the message, but the other 93% is your body language and your tone of voice. So that's also really, really important. Okay, so here are some strong words that you could use. You could use words like exciting, inspiring, fantastic, come across an amazing company, a dynamic company, it's got an impressive track record, flexibility, security, visionary, the potential, I can now see how, dot, dot, dot. These are all really strong words, and it's important that you use words, your normal language. You know, depending on who you're talking to, it's going to be different kind of words that you would use. But here are some not so strong words. And believe me, in the old days, I've probably mentioned them all. And if you're laughing, that's because you've used some of them as well. You know, a lot of it's jargon that people won't understand. You know, could, might, think, hopefully, one day, they're not strong words. They're kind of, oh, it shows that you don't have that kind of lack of belief. You have that lack of belief. Sponsor is jargon. You know, aloe vera, we don't need to talk about that because actually you're talking about an opportunity. You know, certainly don't need to be talking about anthraquinones and polysaccharides. That's just, you know, not appropriate. Or also the facts about forever either, because that is jargon. Okay, I also meant to say, remember that this is being recorded, so you can go back and catch up on it on the recording if you need to. So, when are you going to use your story? Well, you're going to use your story conversationally when you're talking with friends and family. Now, that's going to be a very short story, and it needs to be quite kind of calm and laid back. That might be around the dining table when we can get back to doing things like that, or sitting in the garden at a socially distanced picnic, or socialising at Christmas, for example. So, you know, that might be something as short as, well, you know, I was facing with this, if I go back 15 years, well, you know, I'm facing redundancy. Well, I've come across a company where I can work this really flexibly alongside work, and I'm really excited about it actually, because I can see how in the future it's going to be able to give me, you know, to be able to work, you know, from home around the family. So you can keep it really, really brief, keep it very, very light, very conversational, very, very short. Because if you start going into lots of stories with your family, you'll lose them. They'll feel like you're trying to sell them and convince them. So it needs to be very, very short and punchy. Also, when you're talking on the phone to potential FBOs, and again, this needs to be quite short really, but if you've listened to them or you know about them, then you're going to be able to pick out the bits that are appropriate to the listener. So if you're talking to a mum, you know, me too, you know, I was facing redundancy. I wanted something flexible around my son. If you're speaking to a business person, then you can focus on that part. But if you're a mum who hasn't got any, or you're talking to a mum who hasn't got any confidence, and you start talking about, you know, a really high dynamic global brand business, then that may not be, you know, if they've lost lots of confidence, that might not be their kind of language. You have to tailor it. You know, obviously they're a mum with a business background, then you're going to go into that sort of side of things. So you have to, and this is where it's about listening to people and making it appropriate to them. Click on the next button, sorry. When you're contact marketing, now contact marketing is something obviously that many of us are out and about at the moment, but you know, we will be again. But this is something, again, you need to keep it very brief. So if you're in the petrol station or in your supermarket, you know, you're just chatting to the person behind the till, you know, how long have you worked here, you know, just you're actually asking more about them than you. But then, you know, you might then say, actually, I was the same. You know, I was worried about my job, and I'm a mum like you. So you'll just pick out a few little, I'd love to tell you a little bit more. You know, now's not the time, can we swap numbers and I can tell a little bit more? Because actually, you know, I've got a similar background to you, or not necessarily working in the supermarket, but, you know, a similar need, if you like. So you're picking out elements of their story, if that makes sense. In a private message to somebody, say on Facebook, again, you need to be really, really brief. It's really not about typing out, copying your whole story and typing it in a chat message, not a whole long paragraph. You know, that's to say the written word is very, very different to the spoken word. And you must check it by saying it out loud and reading it out to yourself and putting punctuation in. You know, I've done the rambling, really long messages, and when I've read them back, I've really kind of cringed actually. So, you know, that needs to be very, very short and punchy. Think about how kind of conversations would go. Where else? Well, you can also use your story in networking groups. Now, obviously, a lot of networking groups, well, all networking groups are now happening online through Zoom. And sometimes you've only got 45 seconds, sometimes you've got a minute. So again, it has to be a really short, punchy story, and you obviously you're not able to overrun. Sometimes it may be that you're using a product story. So again, it's really good to work on that as well. But you'll need a much shorter business version for when people shake hands and say, what do you do, which obviously doesn't happen at the moment, but when we go back to that kind of thing. But I would recommend that you talk to your sponsor or your upline and really get them to help you with this, because each meeting, especially if it's a networking group, each meeting will be different in style. So find somebody in your upline that's done networking groups and ask them to help you with the 60 seconds and how they would kind of craft their story, because it's a slightly different thing. Also, during the one-to-one, when you're showing people some information, again, tailoring it to the recipient. You know, it's not about you, it's about drawing on the parts of it that are similar to the person that you're talking to. So again, you're looking for the me toos. And again, at business presentations, when you're sharing your testimonial, this needs to be a practiced 60 to 90 second testimonial that you can reel off, even if we called you at 3 a.m. I remember being told that, you know, because the audience and the guests are thinking, can I do this? Do I believe them? So again, you know, practice in the car on the way when you were doing a face-to-face BPs, that is, you know, practice if you've been asked to do a testimonial at a BP, you know, practice it to make sure that you're within that time. And I recommend that you plug in regularly to business presentations. Of course, obviously it's for the guests, but it's also for your benefit as well. And it's a free training. You'll learn phrases, you'll learn about forever, and you'll start to get belief, because each person that does the presentation will do it slightly differently. You'll hear different personal stories over and over. I think there are around about 4 different testimonials on each presentation. And then you can share that with people outside, with potential FBOs outside of the BP. And you might say something like, oh, do you know what? I was at listening to a presentation and there was a man or a lady there just like you, and this is what happened to them. And it's the same as product testimonials. Share them to help others. You're just sharing stories. We've got 3 online BPs a week that the company are running, so there's plenty of opportunity there for you to learn. So when we had face-to-face BPs, I used to say that everyone that came to our regular BP should be able to actually do my testimonial, because it's nothing to do with ego, but I wanted them to be able to recount my story when they meet with somebody that's got a similar background to me. And obviously if they've heard the same story over and over again, then they'll be able to do that. And when I was new, I'd hang on to every word of the speaker, and actually I could recount their story almost word for word. So what I thought I would do was share my 60 to 90 second BP story. That you heard, a very long one at the start. I'm going to actually put the timer on just to make sure that I do keep it to within 60-90 seconds. So you heard the very long one at the start, you've heard some very kind of shorter kind of clips in between, and this is my BP one. They all follow that, it always follows that structure of background, challenge, solution and future. Okay, so let me put the timer on. So I'm going to imagine I'm at a BP now. Hi, I'm Clare Copping, and after 23 years in office admin and management at the BBC, I found myself facing redundancy, and I had no idea what I was going to do. All the options were either going to cost me a fortune to start a business or buy a franchise, take me years to retrain and cost a lot of money, weren't going to be flexible to fit around the family, and weren't going to earn me enough money. And I was scared, and I had no idea what I was going to do. Thankfully, a friend showed me forever, and for me, it ticked all the boxes. Wasn't sure I could do it. I didn't have a lot of confidence, but because of the hand holding and the training and the support, I plugged into a really simple system, and now, gosh, 15 years on, life is very different. Yes, I've qualified for everything that you're about to see, but for me, it's been about time freedom. It's been about not having to put our son into holiday club or after school club. Now, okay, he's 21 now, he's at university, he wouldn't go, but you know, that was really important when he was 7. You know, don't need to negotiate Christmas or holidays anymore. And for me, it's been about being able to be there for family when you get that phone call to say that they're not well. It's allowed us to relocate around the country. It's allowed me to explore hobbies. It's allowed me to do voluntary work, and I absolutely love what I do. So, okay, there you go, 1 minute, 20 seconds. So that's kind of my BP story. That's pretty much what I do every week at a BP. And so there are, and I'm going to explain now how, let me just do a summary. Let me click onto the next page. There we go. So I'm going to show you now how that breaks down and why it is important to have that structure. I can't possibly share my life story in 60 seconds. So what I've done in my story is I've tried to pick out as many elements that will appeal to all different kinds of people, because there are so many people who've got similar backgrounds and similar challenges that are looking for similar solutions. You know, maybe people who have been in the same career or industry for years. So, you know, I say BBC 23 years. There are also people who are fed up with, who are maybe worried about redundancy, especially now. They've either had redundancy or are concerned about their job security. Let me just bring all of these up. People that have lost confidence, people who are at a crossroads. You know, they're thinking about maybe a business or a franchise. They're thinking about retraining, but it costs time and money. They've got a family, they need flexibility. They may be, you know, fed up of having to negotiate Christmas and holidays. So, you know, who do you know that's at a crossroads or has lost confidence or has got a family, doesn't want to put their child into holiday club? Nearly every mum's going to identify with that. Who do you know that wants a better work-life balance? Still wants to earn a good income, but without all the, you know, the challenges that go with that. You know, the current situation has actually really shown what this can be like for a lot of people. You know, I came across Forever through a friend. It doesn't matter at a BP that I joined at a launch. I won't talk about that because that's kind of jargon. I won't say that in my BP talk. But if I was doing a launch, then I would say I went to an evening like this. You know, who do you know that that this could tick all the boxes for? Who loves travel, who wants freedom of time, who wants flexibility, who wants time to be there with elderly parents. I think there was one more. And who wants to travel. You know, so many of the audience are going to be feeling at least one or two of these things. My testimonial is not for the BPs in the room, for the FBOs in the room, sorry. So I don't change it every week to keep them interested. I don't care if they're bored of my jokes. The guest has never heard my story, and that's the only person that I'm doing my story for. It's for them to be able to identify with what I'm saying, so that I can help them see that they can do this too. You know, you'll notice as well that I don't mention Rex, I don't mention selling aloe vera, the turnover of the company, the length of time Forever's been trading, or the number of countries, because that information is not my story. That's a fact about the business. In fact, actually, that's part of Rex's and Greg's story. So the place for that type of information is during the slides of the one-to-one and the BP. I'm just sharing why I'm doing this and the challenges that I had and the reasons that I got involved, so that I can help them to see that they can do this too, because I'm just a normal person. So you need to be really comfortable and relaxed with your words, and that only comes from practicing it and refining it. And as I've said, that, you know, the written word and the spoken words are very, very different. So once you've written it down, you'll need to say it out loud and then make it sound relaxed and informal. So really do practice it on your family and friends. And you can ring your friends up and say, I've just started a new business. Can I kind of just practice my kind of story on you? Get them to give you feedback. It's really powerful. And my story only became powerful after I went on a speaker training with a wonderful lady who lots of you will know, called Maddie French. It was about 8 years ago, and it was at a training before the BP, and she made us write our story down. So huge thank you to Maddie, because it was just a massive light bulb, because I realised I'd got lots of fluff in my story, things that weren't relevant. And also, by timing it, I thought it was only a minute, but actually in reality it was creeping to 4 or 5 minutes. And obviously if you've got 4 people doing 5-minute testimonials at a BP instead of 1 minute, all of a sudden the BP's overrun by over 15 minutes. So if you're doing a BP testimonial, take some deep breaths first of all. And obviously, if you're standing there doing a face-to-face one, when we get back to face-to-face ones, you know, stand still or people will get distracted. Look around the room, you know, don't focus on one person in the audience, and remember to smile as well. So I would really encourage you all to volunteer to do a testimonial. Maybe if you're having team BPs or on your team online sizzles, you know, as long as it's been practiced, it's short, it's punchy, it's effective. It doesn't matter if you've only been in forever for a short while, because actually that helps the guest identify more in a way because they're new, and it will also help to grow your confidence. So I've just got a few examples here for you. Okay, so somebody called Sarah. So her background is that she's a mum and a care worker, and she's working nights, working opposite shifts to her husband, and wants some more time with her son. So she came across Forever and could see that it was really going to be flexible and could give her a good income potential, and she could see how it could in the future enable her husband to go part-time, leave his job and give them more family time, or even for her to leave her job and for them to have more family time. So that's a very, very short, punchy example of using the background, that challenge, the solution and the future. Because people are only going to, if you do a great big long story, they're only going to remember those 4 things anyway. They're only going to remember what you did, why you were unhappy, what you did about it, and what you're hoping it's going to give you. So the more punchy and effective you can make your story, the better. Or Tom, whose background was a teacher and had got some health challenges, but also was concerned about his pension. So he could see that this was going to be very flexible. He could work it alongside his job as a teacher, but also what was important to him was that it was an ethical company, and he loved helping people. So he could see that he would be able to help people. It was going to give him freedom in the future because he's got this extra income to supplement his pension, and also he was going to be able to help people with the products. So again, that's somebody that maybe was looking just for a couple of £100 a month. Or Jo. Jo is actually in our team, and she had a background as a hairdresser, and she had no time. The business owned her. It really did own her. She was working long hours. So she could see that this was going to be really flexible alongside her hairdressing business. It was going to give her a good income so that she really wanted to travel in the future. And absolutely that's what it enabled her to do. She got to manager, and she was able to sell her business. She loves still cutting hair, so she still cuts hair, but she hasn't got the business. Well, she's not cutting hair at the moment, obviously, because of the current situation, but it gave her real flexibility and a really good income, enabled her to travel with her other half. And when family challenges came through for her, then she's been able to step away from the business and to be able to spend time with her family when they needed her the most, and that has been absolutely beyond powerful for her. So that's again, you know, a powerful story that she's kind of, you know, living reality that is what has happened. So where else are you going to use your story? At a launch. So obviously we can't do face-to-face launches, although I suppose you could have socially distanced launches in your garden, maybe. But a lot of launches obviously are happening online now. But again, you're still going to need to use your story. So again, it needs to be briefer, a little bit softer, and you'll know your story inside out now. So it's going to be really easy to shorten your story and use it, maybe even use it throughout the launch at appropriate times. Retailing to customers, so customer trial packs, that kind of thing, table events when we're able to do those again, or even just talking to your customers over the phone. Again, keep it kind of brief and conversational, and you'll find a way to use your story and challenges into as many situations as you can just by picking out the things that are appropriate. So, you know, I might say if I was doing a table event or something, yeah, a bit different to, or even actually if I was in a contact marketing in a shop, I might say, oh, a bit different to working at the BBC. You know, I was facing redundancy. So you can use little elements of your story, just as little tiny me toos, but remembering the 4 bullet points of background, challenge, solution and future. When else can you use your story? At a sizzle. And at the start of when we would used to do face-to-face sizzles, I used to get everybody to go around the room, and I used to get people to share their background and or name and reason for joining the business. And I used to write it on a flip chart so that other people would go, oh, I know a solicitor, a graphic designer, a teacher, a mum, or someone that's been made redundant, or somebody that hates commuting. It's really powerful. I'll go and speak to them. So get your team to practice their story at sizzles. Obviously, we're doing lots of online sizzles now, standing up at the front of the room, obviously when we're doing on face-to-face ones, but even actually just putting their webcam on, sometimes even that can be terrifying for people. But, you know, start to gently encourage them just to share their story, you know, so that they can start to get used to this kind of thing. I don't think I'll ever get used to this kind of thing. It still makes me nervous even 15 years on, but hey, it just shows that you can still build a business. You know, but what's important is that we're all different. We've all got different backgrounds, and we've all got different challenges, and we've all got different hopes for the future. So always be thinking, how can I help? How can what I say help the audience? It's not about ego and the me monster or your entire journey and your life history. It's actually about picking the appropriate things out for your audience. Testimonials at success days. Again, obviously when we're back face to face doing them, but even we're having recognition events now online, aren't we? So again, they need to be brief and punchy, and they need to follow that structure that I've mentioned earlier. You know, whenever I've had to do a testimonial at a success day, I've still written it down, I've still practiced it, I've still timed it. And what it does is it helps give belief to the people that are listening. It helps the new FBO have belief that they can do it and that we're normal. You know, if you're a supervisor wanting to be assistant manager, you'll hang on to every word of the assistant manager giving their testimonial. And the same if you're wanting to be manager, it'd be the next step for you. So the point of your testimonial again is to inspire people listening with their belief. It's not really about all the details of your challenges. Challenges are really good to touch on, but not all of the detail, because it's mostly irrelevant to most people, and they may switch off because they won't identify with it. So always think about how your story could help inspire somebody listening. And also, the longer the testimonial, obviously the fewer that we can hear. And the power in these stories is hearing how different they all are. So if people think, so what, then you've lost them. So your story needs to be picking out those 4 things. They're only going to remember those 4 things: your background, what you did, what your challenge was, what the solution was, and what the future is, because they're then going to summarize that. So really make sure that that's really clear and succinct, and that way it will be so powerful. You know, whenever you use your story, what's really important is that you've crafted this story to be succinct. We all love a good story. Everybody loves a rags to riches or a failure to success story, but sometimes I think that can feel a bit like a fairy tale. And when I was new, it wasn't that I didn't believe all the big things, I just didn't think I could achieve it. And I think what's really powerful actually is a challenge to a light at the end of the tunnel story, because there are thousands of people out there living lives of quiet desperation, struggling, putting on a public face, but underneath and inside they're actually struggling. So wherever you share your story, do it calmly. And I think it's really important that you know the mission statement inside out, actually, Forever's mission statement. But share your story. Remember the bits that say where individuals can with dignity be what they want to be, where integrity, empathy, and fun are our guides. You know, right now I think we have to have huge empathy for people with a quiet dignity, because people are struggling. So share your story with humility and a vision for yourself. Yes, share it with excitement, but it's not, you know, be mindful of what you're sharing. You're looking for that light at the end of the tunnel, and having a vision for yourself that you might just be the light at the end of the tunnel for them too. And that might be something very small. Please don't underestimate the power of £300 a month. That can make a massive difference to people, especially right now. So many people actually just want to belong, to be part of something positive. You know, the workplace can be very toxic, and people just want to feel valued and part of something good and to be able to make a difference. You know, we had a little webinar on Sunday. There were only 9 of us on, and I got everyone to share their story actually, and not one of them talked about the money that they'd earned or the big things that they'd achieved or the big things that they wanted to achieve. They all talked about belonging, the people, the products, and how it made them feel, and the self-development as well. You know, in the early days, I felt embarrassed that I hadn't achieved success quickly, and I didn't think my story was worthwhile. And I thought I had to kind of have a mega super duper ending, but you don't. Because actually what people want is people want hope, not hype. They want to believe what you're saying and for it to feel achievable for them too. Because I kept thinking, what if I can't do it? But what if I can? What if it doesn't work? But what if it does? And it was those stories that really, really helped me. People buy people. And facts will tell, but you've heard this before, but stories will sell. So you need to become that professional storyteller and borrow other people's stories as well. And the words that you share at a BP or a training or even over a coffee might just inspire somebody. You may even inspire another FBO in the queue for the loo when we're back to doing face-to-face things again. So in summary, write it down. Really, 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 really important. You need to have that structure, the background, the challenge, the solution, how you feel about the future. It really does need to be brief, because otherwise they'll switch off and your wonderful story will have been wasted, which would be such a shame. People love hearing stories. And then you need to practice it and practice it and practice it. So if I call you at 3 a.m, you'll be able to be fluent. And other people can share, because it needs to be so short and punchy and powerful that other people can borrow elements of it and share it. And that's really what this is about, is to help inspire people. So, and you need to smile. Oh, there was one more page. There we go. So I hope that's inspired you to take some time to sit down, to write out your story. I hope you can all be inspirations for somebody. You won't appeal to everyone. Nobody does. However, you never know when you can be the inspiration for that one person, the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what this business is about. It's about ripples in the pond, helping one person at a time have the vision that maybe, just maybe they can do this. Never underestimate the power of your story to somebody else. So be a storyteller and go and make a difference. And I hope that's helped you. So I've got some questions, I think. Let me just check on the queue questions. The name of the book that I mentioned, if I could run over and find it. I'll probably take too long. Oh, stay there. I shall just go and get it. Hang on. In my bookcase. I shall be back in a minute. I should have been a good Blue Peter person, shouldn't I? I had here's one I prepared earlier. So there you go. It's Dare to Dream and Work to Win by Dr. Tom Barrett. This is one of the first books I read, actually, which is why it's all a bit crinkled on the cover. And go through the book, highlight it. You will feel that this book has been written for you. It's absolutely brilliant. I read this literally within the first couple of months of being in the business, and it just massively helped me. So many absolutely vital things in here for new people. And actually, it's really good to reread it, because you can kind of open it at any page and, oh, look, there you go. You will face the fear of doing this business, or you will face the fear of not doing this business. So there you go. I've literally just opened it at that page randomly. There's always going to be a great message on every page. So I'd really recommend you get that book. It's just absolutely brilliant. So that was that book. You're very welcome. Thank you. Yes, really good piece of advice, Andrew. Maybe tape your story on your phone. So that's a great idea, and that's actually what I used to do. I used to record it on my phone. Like you get the notes section. If it depends on your phone, you got not notes, you get like a voice memo thing. So do it on that, and then you'll see how long it is. That's really good, thank you for that. You'll see how long it is, and then you'll be able to hear it back and think, oh, that didn't sound quite right. But again, if you write it out, that will really, really help you, and you'll start to refine it over time. I don't have children, so I find it really hard to relate my story when I'm talking to someone with children. What words do you recommend? Is it okay to talk to someone else's story? Yeah, absolutely. And I think really, you know, it doesn't matter that you don't have children, because, as I say, everybody is different. But if you think about, if you're talking to somebody that's very different to you and has got a completely different, diverse background to you, think about the things that might be important to them. So you can use words like flexibility, which is always going to be important to somebody with children. So think about the things, think about what their life is like. So flexibility would be one thing. You know, you can even say, I don't have to negotiate Christmas, and, you know, I'm really looking forward to not having to negotiate Christmas and holidays. Because you have to do that in a job, but equally that's going to be important for somebody with children. So I think it's about thinking about flexibility is the most important thing with children, with anybody with children, because, you know, you may even work school hours. Somebody might work school hours around the children, but then when the children's ill, suddenly you're then in a difficult situation. So yes, and you could also share you could say, actually, I'm working with a mum like you, so yes, definitely use somebody else's story to relate it. That's a really, really important thing. Sizzle, a team sizzle. A sizzle is a team, a group training, if you like. So sometimes local people will get together and do kind of online Zoom. We call them sizzles, but online team kind of get-togethers, online team kind of socials, you know, where it's just once a week. So, you know, you might, I don't know, on a Sunday at 8:30 have a little team get-together. There'll be somebody in your upline, because everybody's got an upline that's doing something. So there'll be somebody in your upline that will be doing something like that. It may be that if you've before, I don't know how new you are, but there may be one for your area. So I know that, for instance, one of the managers in my team down in Stevenage, obviously when the BP's shut for now, they now do an online BP kind of get together sizzle. So you know, you can join in on things like that. So where it's just a Zoom, and you have all your little webcams on, and you just share what you've been up to for the week. So that's another thing that you can do. I'm no Speedy Gonzales either, Sylvia, but you're still here, and that's the most important thing. Wow. I've lost the message. 4 CCs every month since August 2015 without fail. That is now holding steady at 6 to 7 every month, working towards assistant manager through lockdown. I'm so glad I found this business. I'm so glad you found this business as well, Sylvia. That is fantastic. This is not, you can't compare. You know, if we're driving up the motorway, we don't compare ourselves to the Ferrari that goes past, or, you know, if we're on the inside lane or we stop at the services, we don't compare ourselves to all the other cars that are in the services that have stopped. It doesn't matter whether you're going fast or slow, the A roads, the B roads, the motorway, it's your journey to your destination, and you keep going because you're doing brilliant. Thank you for that. Thank you. Oh, hi, Phil and Rosita here in Spain. Oh, lovely to have you on. Say hello to Monda. You're welcome. Thank you. Oh, hang on. I should have started at the bottom probably. Sorry. Let me just check. Thank you. Thank you. I've got Helen Hodges saying, fantastic, Claire, grandma. That's because I'm a kind of grandma in the business to her, if you like. You're welcome. Thank you. You're very welcome. I don't think there's any other questions. Let me just say. Yeah, emerging team, great. Have a sizzle and duplicate. Absolutely brilliant. The best way is to learn something and share it. So set up a little Zoom with your small team, even if there's 2 or 3 of you on, it doesn't actually matter. You know, have a Zoom with your friends cross-lining forever. Just create something. You know, if your upline isn't doing anything, be the leader that you you know, that you want to be. So do a little Zoom just with a handful of people. That's absolutely fine. And go around the room if you like and practice your 60 seconds. You're welcome. Oh, bless you. Thank you for that. Hang on, I've got confused. Hold on, I'm going back. I'm probably going the wrong way through the questions. Let me start at the bottom and work up. Wow, thank you. Cars on a motorway, that's what we are, you know, we're on a journey. And also, actually, I take that analogy a little bit further and say that, you know, when you have a new team member, you're their sat nav. It's their journey. If they want to go quick, you can help them go quick. And if you don't really know how to do that, you could get your upline to help you. But if they want to go slow, equally, that's right. They've got the vehicle is forever. They're the driver of the car. You're just the sat nav. So if they want to sit idly, it's not about you pressurizing and forcing them to go up the A1 quickly. If they just want to go down the country roads or park themselves, you know, you're there to support your new team member in whatever journey they want to go. You're very welcome. Thank you very much. Oh, no, I don't really. I think the best thing, Ruth, is you joined the business 2 days ago. Oh, well, congratulations. Get in touch with the person. My biggest piece of advice, get in touch with the person that's introduced you and say help. And if they're quite new, don't really know what they're doing because maybe they've just joined recently, get in touch with the person that is working them. You'll be part of you'll have a great grandma, grandfather somewhere further up the line. But the other piece of advice I would really recommend is that you go on to Forever Knowledge. If you're, I'm assuming you're in the UK, go on to Forever Knowledge and just watch. Go into I think it's under events, and then it's the webinars and slides, which are these webinars. There are loads of incredible webinars in there because all of these webinars are recorded, so you will be able to answer those. Let me keep scrolling down. So there'll be lots of stuff there for you. Wow, got up at 3 a.m. to listen in. I hope that's been okay. Thank you. How to answer what do you do? It depends. That's you don't have to tell your whole story, no. You can just say I work in health and well-being. It could be as simple as that. It depends who you're talking to and where you are. You know, if I was in a supermarket and someone says, what do you do? I'll say, I've got a fantastic business in health and well-being. Or I help people earn extra incomes. It's really going to depend on the situation. Maybe ask your upline, how did you find your confidence? You can't see the swan feet that are going on underneath. It's come from time. It's come from, I think, when you're passionate about something, when you love something. You know, if you'd known me 15 years ago, I'm a very, very different person. I'll tell you where it's come from. It's come from reading the books. I've got a great big library, a bookcase full of books. It's come from reading books. It's come from listening to webinars like this, learning something. It's come from writing notes, making lots and lots of notes. It's come from getting it wrong lots. It's come from having you know, just asking lots of questions and being a sponge. Actually, it's come from time, and you know, it's a journey, and as I say, it's not a straight line. It's a plate of spaghetti, and I've been down and then you come back up again, and you go down and you come back up again. Right, let me just check the one. I haven't missed any. Let me just quickly go back. I think I've covered everything. Is it true you can't overtake your upline in the marketing plan? My upline are not active, and head office said they'd get her upline to. Okay. Once you get to manager, you're then on the same level. So it's kind of a bit complicated to explain, and I've literally only got a couple of minutes to do it in. So you can overtake your upline. Yes, you can, because once you get to manager, you're all on the same level, and then you could be a senior manager and they might be a manager, so you can overtake your upline. But up to manager, if you're build your business anyway, if you look at some of the most successful people in forever, you know, Jane Leach, you know, her upline she didn't have an upline, because her upline, I think, stopped and didn't really do very much. You know, a lot of the very top people just did this themselves. My sponsor stopped. You know, thankfully I had the lovely Michelle Pointer to who became my kind of, well, she was my forever grandma, now she's my forever mum, but my sponsor stopped within a couple of months. So it's about going to the trainings and learning. So if your upline is not active, keep asking, find out who it is, and just keep going up until you find the manager that is. Because if I had found out that there was somebody 12 generations down in my team that was struggling, you know, you help them. So there will be a manager somewhere in your upline that will want to help you. But in the meantime, I would plug into all of these webinars, go onto Forever Knowledge. The recording will be on Forever Knowledge underneath events, and then it's webinars and slides, I think. It'll take, I think, a couple of days. I think it may be a week before it's on there, but I think I've opened everything, have I? Hang on, let me see that. Done that one. We've done that one. Did that one. Done that one. Done that one. Let me just check. That's that. I've lost my mouse now. That one's fine. And I think I've answered everything now. So I hope that's been helpful. Thank you for all your lovely messages, and go out there and create a fantastic story. Hope that's been really helpful. Have a wonderful day. Hopefully the sun will come back soon. I'm sure it's shining in Spain and other places in the country. But take care, and looking forward to seeing us all back together at a face-to-face success day sometime soon, when we can all kind of hug again, because I'm missing my hugs. So have a great day, everybody. Take care. Bye. Got to work out what to do now. I know I meant to stop share, and then I think I meant to say end. So bye, everybody. Take care. Bye.